This is the MacBook Pro 15-inch from 2010. This MacBook features a integrated Intel graphics processor alongside a GeForce 330M with 512 megabytes of video RAM and an Intel i7 processor. More on this later. I tend to gravitate towards these particular machines because they're just heavy for one, and two, they're really sturdy. Meaning, if you try to bend it, you can't bend it. It's not like a toy, like one of those. But also, it feels like you're holding an actual piece of professional equipment. And it has a disk drive, great for making home movies and just distribution discs and install discs and just whatever you want. The only problem with this machine is that it might not be as powerful as its weight might indicate. So, how great is a MacBook Pro 15-inch dual GPU from 2010 good at doing stuff in 2022? Well, let's find out. I'm iRedMC, and this is the Technology Tap Show. Let's go. Well, at least after it's done uploading. So here's both the MacBook 13-inch and the MacBook Pro 15-inch that this video is about, running side by side on the same OS, so let's get to gaming. While we're waiting, Minecraft does not like old computers, but once it's running, you can't really tell the difference unless you turn settings up quite a bit. At least for a new enough computer, which this one is getting very out of date. And this one is also getting very out of date, but it has an i7, so at least it has that going for it. Also, this has upgraded graphics, has the upgraded version of what's in here. This has the 320M, this has the 330M. Also, this has a 1TB hard drive, this has a 750, so yeah. These computers are also from the same year. This is with Optifine, so let's go. Okay, the MacBook Pro is starting to load, and the normal MacBook is starting to load too. Now, the games will always be starting in a mode that is not full screen, but since I obviously prefer full screen on these laptops, they're both in full screen mode, but they aren't normally. So, we're gonna undo that if I can even figure out how. We're gonna figure this out how, and I forgot my mic, so I'm gonna do that, and we'll get back to it. Okay, this better actually be using the microphone. It says external, so I guess we're good. Now, both of these screens are nice and bright, so yeah, there's no difference there. This one's running at 1440 by 900. This is running at 1280 by 800. These are running at 8 chunks, fast render distance. If this isn't, I'm gonna turn it to that. Okay, good. We're gonna go multiplayer. No, actually, we're gonna go single player. Have some worlds, but meh. We're gonna give them both the same seed. Speakers aren't half bad either. Sack books. Sack books. There we go. 3, 2, 1. Now this has a Core 2 Duo at 2.4 gigahertz. This one, on the other hand, has an i7 at 2.6. I think it's 2.6. Yeah, it must be 2.6. So it's obviously a little faster, but that's about all it has going for it except for hyper-threading. This is hyper-threaded, but this is not. At least I think this is hyper-threaded, but it's still just dual core. But as you can see, it's still faster. It's generating the same world. Also, this has 8 gigs of RAM, and this has 16. Because I put 16 gigs in this because I wanted to use this for modded, but I'm an idiot. Don't play modded on these. The first MacBook year that you can trust with that is 2012. Everything before that is just, don't use that for even light modded Minecraft. Like, it'll load and it'll work, but it won't be a good playable experience, especially not at single player. Alright, so the MacBook Pro is done already, and this MacBook hasn't even gotten started. It's still at 0%. Maybe it'll jump. Let's see. Also, I'm getting a lot of glare from this. The MacBook Pro is running pretty well. And yeah, no complaints here. If you turn the graphics to fancy, let's see what that does. It's at like 30 plus FPS without the F3 menu. Because if you guys don't know, the F3 menu actually decreases the amount of FPS you get. So if you turn it off, you actually get more. As you can see, when I turn it back on, it doesn't immediately drop, but it drops like the next second. And I was wrong. This actually has a Core i7 at 2.66 gigahertz. I don't know why it says 6.7. That's wrong. At least I think so. But yeah, this is running very well, considering. And it's still like 40 FPS, but it doesn't really look like that. It's completely playable, and I could deal with this. Now the MacBook finally loaded, so let's go over to that. And I forgot to switch the game mode. I'll do that right now, because I'm an idiot that wasn't thinking. I don't know why. But yeah, it's not running all that bad. It's running a little bit worse though, but not that much more. Chunks aren't loading. I don't know what the problem with that is. So obviously it's not running that much worse, but it is having some problems with simple chunk loading. Which that's new. I never really had that problem with this particular MacBook over others. It is definitely a problem, but it doesn't last. It's still running actually better than the MacBook Pro, which is weird. But yeah, might just be the speed of the hard drive. The hard drive in here came with, or it came in a 2012 MacBook Pro, so it might be slightly quicker. I don't know what hard drive the one in here came with. Might have been the one from the factory. I have no clue, but it's 1 terabyte, so I don't think so. Yeah, these things are from the same year. This has a worse GPU and CPU. This has a better GPU and CPU, but it also has a bigger screen that it has to drive, and the bigger the screen, more performance you're gonna have to drive it, especially with a game. Now, I tried to get Windows to work on both of these, and even though Boot Camp would try, it wouldn't work all the way, for one reason or another. I'm having problems with blue screens on this one, and I'm having problems with it not restarting properly on this one. Same with the 2012 MacBook Pro that I just got, so obviously there's some problems there, but you can install Windows 10 just fine on all of them. I just don't like Windows 10, so I don't recommend it. But if you really need to, you can. Now you might be thinking, Minecraft. Well, why use Minecraft? Why not use anything else? Well, the problem is not many games work with macOS. As sad as that is, Minecraft is one of the only ones that I play and know a crap ton about. But we're gonna move on to some Steam games that do actually function and came out the same year that these did. They'll run slower now, but that's just because the way they are is different than when they were released. I will say though that the screen on this is more washed out than the screen on this. And I've just noticed that. I didn't notice that before, so obviously it's not as bad. But if you look at them side by side, the color is incredible on this and just washed out on this. I don't know if it's coming across in the video. It kind of is. Like if you stand, like, is this the same tree? Yeah, I don't even know where I am. Oh. So if you stand here, you look over there, you can see that, whoops, I'm trying to zoom. There we go. That one is, it just looks better overall than this one. So, yeah. Not really much, but it is noticeable, especially when you get the computers side by side. So let's go to a game that I love, which is called Portal. Hopefully it won't be like a portal party. Let's play on words. I'll be back when it's starting up. But before I do, there's one thing that I've noticed, as a problem that I've noticed on these MacBooks, and that is heat generation and the lack of heat output. The heat generated by this is for some reason so much stronger than it can dissipate. Even when it's just playing a damn video from the hard drive, or even from the network for that matter, it heats up a lot more than it should. And it's using the internal graphics, I'm pretty sure it should be. So I don't know why that would be, but it does that, and that's a problem if you want to put this on your skin, so, and on your lap. So be careful of that. Even through pants, it hurts. Through this, it's not really that much of a problem, and you would think it would be, because this is metal. This should be way better at dealing with heat, and this isn't. Yet this is cooler. It's slower, less complex, and upgraded graphics, but I don't think there's much of a difference between the graphics other than DRAM size. Because this has 512 megs to a gig, and this has 256 megs. Here we go, Portal. Oh, god damn. Okay, so we're gonna focus on one, because for some reason, I can't play Portal on both computers. Oh wait, actually, I can. Yeah. Okay, so it looks like we're gonna take a look at performance side by side once both loads. Alright guys, here we are. Sorry about the moire pattern on screen. It's actually not there in real life, except on my phone screen, but yeah. Anyway, this is Portal. It's a really, really cool game. Recommend it. We're going to be playing it at the native resolution. Model details at medium, texture details at medium. Well, like this. Anisotropic 2x. I don't know what that is. Alright, so this is basically at low to medium settings. Man, that moire pattern is super bad. Anyway. So on most laptops from around this time, this probably would not have worked, but it is. Excellent work. Okay, we're gonna stick the cameras into the door, and then we're gonna slam it shut, like good boys, you know. Ha. I'm so gonna. Anyway, I think that's a good stopping point for Portal, but let's go to the next chamber, and we're gonna trigger a loading screen. The first. Bye. Alright. Balls. Hat.
Good job.
3, 2. Alright, trigger this damn loading screen. Isn't that cool? Look at that. Okay, so that's enough. So you see how well it ran on here, and that looked like 60 FPS. I don't think it was 60 FPS, because I've never gotten Portal to run at 60 FPS on a computer like this. But then again, I've never actually played it on this laptop, because I play Portal with a keyboard and mouse, not a keyboard and trackpad. So if Portal will work, Half-Life will work. Terraria, I'm not sure about, but I have no doubt it will work. Half-Life, it's from 1998. Gary's mod barely works. I did play that, and that's about it. You don't want to play competitive games on this, so I'm not even going to count those in. Alright, down to the white MacBook from 2010. We're just gonna compare the performance. It has pretty much the exact same stuff on, except some random stuff that I'm gonna disable. Test chamber 04. This is more comparative, so this will not be as in-depth. I'm going to simply shrug a few hitches, because, I mean... Okay, so we're getting some hitches.
You'll be entirely on your own. Good luck.
I love doing that. Alright. Alright. Loading screen, here I come. Ah, that wasn't as cool. Alright, it hitches here and there, but I think you get the idea of how well or bad this runs. Also, it switches video modes after exiting a game, which is what I've noticed on both computers. It's more noticeable on this one though. I'm not really sure why that is, but yeah. Okay, this is gonna sound really weird. I screwed up the recording. I need to attach this video to right here because it's basically another gameplay test, but it's gonna be kind of weird, but it'll make sense now to you guys because I said this is what happened, but yeah, if this sounds a little bit weird, it's not you, it's me that screwed up the recording. Thank you. Even when just playing Minecraft Alpha, which actually I'm going to switch to because that's more of a appropriate challenge for this kind of computer. Plus, I've tested that a lot more on both of these and they both run it fine. First, we're gonna test the normal MacBook. Okay. Launches quite quickly, but this is a 2011 version of a pretty easy to run game, so not surprised. So I have full screen because you always want to full screen when running Minecraft Alpha or even Beta for that matter, or actually any version to be honest, because it will always run better on a Mac in full screen than in windowed mode. For some reason, windowed mode is just a crap show. I don't know why. I'm guessing it's just all the effects that macOS has, but I don't think that's it. I think it's something else. Let's go into the server, which is actually Alpha Place, but I have a custom IP called betaplace.us.2. Connects to the same server, but it's funnier. Alright, so we're in the game. And this is on far render distance with fast graphics, which for most computers is a decently hard task to do. So I'd say this is managing it pretty well. So like 25 to 30 FPS. But I usually play it on normal, at least on this computer. And I have it limiting the frame rate, but if you didn't want that, might run a little bit faster. Yeah, it's actually running at like above 30 FPS. But if you don't limit the frame rate at normal render distance, it's actually above 40 FPS, so that's really good. But if you go to a base, performance is going to take a hit. Not much, but you do notice it. I'm not noticing it much right now, but you notice it over time. So yeah. I've gotten about an hour of gameplay off of this MacBook before I've had to switch to another one or charge it. For the MacBook Pro, you see here around an hour and a half. Alright, so it's launching. Launched pretty fast. Can't say I'm surprised. Always full screen. Oh, I didn't know I was actually logged in already. Let's go back to that forest. I'm playing on short, but that's because I was mining and I didn't need a big render distance to do that with. This is on far. It's actually about the same. But the difference is you can turn up your graphics and maybe record 480p in the background. It's not going to be fast, but it's going to be something, and that's good. Let's go to normal resistance with fast graphics. Now this is just ultra playable. It's like 40 to 40, like 50 to 60 FPS, and doing the graphics to fancy, you got a good little gaming computer here for Minecraft beta/alpha. If you limit frame rate, it does what it says on the tin, limits the frame rate. I do this to save battery, so I always have that on. Plus it's playable with it on, so I really no downside to it. Anyway, yeah. So that's this MacBook Pro reviewed and put against this white MacBook. Both computers from 2010, both laptops with CPUs and GPUs that are comparable. The bigger difference with this laptop is that it has a bigger screen, that it has dual graphics, although a lot of them don't. This has a 330M and the integrated Intel graphics, and it can switch between them, which I had no clue this setting even was a thing until I got this computer. Because I was like, how do you switch? How do you tell not to switch if you don't want it to switch? It's a automatic graphics switching, and if you turn that off, it'll always use the 330M, which apparently generates a lot of heat and uses a crap ton of battery, even if it's just decoding 720p. Very weird laptop. It's also very heavy. It's very hefty to carry around, which is bad on like first glance. With more examination, it doesn't feel like a toy. So that's why I like and bought this computer and the 2012 MacBook Pro as well, because they're basically near identical, except one has, well, a quad-core CPU in it, and the other has dual-core. It's also much faster, just much better in general. Faster RAM, just everything is upgraded. Even the USB is USB 3 over USB 2. Let's go over the ports this computer has. This computer has power, has Ethernet. I think that's gigabit Ethernet as well. That is Firewire 800, which is an old storage thing that Apple had. You can also transfer files between computers with that. I think that is mini display port with audio. USB 2 port, USB 2 port, the SD card port, microphone input, and a headphone output. This is a little battery indicator thing, which is kind of cool. You can press it and it tells you how much charge is left on the computer. Also, when you charge the laptop, when you're charging it, which I'll do, plug it in, there you go, blinking light. So yeah, also has the latch, actually opens with magnets and closes with them too. It's actually a really tight hold too, like it grabs onto the case really well. My phone just told me it's about to die, so I gotta get this done quickly. This is the sleep-wake indicator light. I think that's an IR receiver right there. Not too sure on that though. And then the dual-layer DVD super drive that Apple put in their stuff a while ago. And this is a Kensington lock port, which is weird. And the hinge for the display, and also rubber feet. And then the numbers and stuff. So yeah, now we're gonna get on to the problems section of this video. They both take a lot of power while being slow. So if you think when you want to use one of these for daily tasks, just remember you're gonna be paying for it in the end. This one's battery is almost new practically. Someone bought a battery for it. Yeah, someone bought a new battery for it, and it's still at only 23 cycles, and its health is at 100%. It still holds 100% of its full charge. But this one, on the other hand, is not as innocent. Its design capacity is much less, but health is at 64%, so it's gonna hold around a third the charge than it originally did. And you can tell, like eventually you can just tell when a battery is just tired. This one's more tired than this one, but even though this battery is huge, it doesn't feel like it. It still runs out of battery very quickly, even when just playing Minecraft Alpha, which actually I'm going to switch to, because that's more of a appropriate challenge for this kind of computer. Plus, I've tested that a lot more on both of these, and they both run it fine. First, we're going to test the normal MacBook. In order to keep the heat at bay and from your pants, I recommend Max Fan Control, which I will provide a link for in the description of this video. And what it basically allows you to do is control the fan speed and put it all the way up. The MacBook Pro's fans are much louder for whatever reason. They just produce more noise, even though the white MacBook's fan is faster than the two that are in here. I think on the 13-inch MacBook Pro, there might only be one fan, but I'm not sure because I've never had one. I've also noticed that the heat output of this is actually better than the heat output of this. The heat generation on this is much more than on here. So I don't know why they didn't engineer this one to dissipate heat better than this one when it clearly needs more. Anyway, it's a free utility and you can download it below. I'm Jaden Lemieux. Thank you so much for watching this MacBook Pro review video. I will be making more of these as I get new equipment, and I'll be returning that MacBook Pro. This one I just had around and decided to use it for this. But yeah, I'm Jaden Lemieux. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you all next time. Subscribe for more. See you guys.